Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's Monday, July the 11th. This is the Dr. Simon's Metabolics and Weight Loss. Ask Me Anything, Facebook Live. We're talking weight loss as we always do. And it's Monday, July 11th, 2022, because these things live online.
We should be saying
yes,
here. You're right.
That's right, yeah, because you may, I don't know, come across this 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is the 2022 version of July 11th. Anyway, we're going to take some questions today. And as we always do, we're going to give away a $25 Target gift card. So
Two things we ask you to do to be eligible to enter. If you're watching this live, we want you to comment Simon's AMA and like this video. So hashtag Simon's AMA.
Hashtag Simon's AMA.
Like this video, and then at the end, we'll choose a winner.
That's
and
right.
A lot of people, because this is 10 o'clock on a Monday, don't get a chance to watch live. So your chances are really good if you're watching and you enter to win that $25 Target gift card as a thank you for being able to attend live. But they're recorded, so you can share them, you can watch them later.
That's right. Now, we are open today in both locations, as we are every Monday. And, I take that back. Not every Monday. Last Monday was July 4th. So we
were closed last Monday.
Most Mondays were open, and so we're open again today.
Mm-hmm.
And, the other thing that you bring up a good point is that a lot of people don't watch these live, but they do watch them. So we have them archived, so you can watch them. And we translate a lot of the material into blog material, so you can even read them. So it's kind of like we make it pretty. A lot of these concepts are things that you may have heard before, but bear repeating over and over again. I think the real master of the trade, whatever the trade is someone who can do the same things over and over again. I mean, you can't be a good pizza chain if you can't reproduce the same results every time, right? You can't be a good basketball player if you aren't a great dribbler, a great rebounder, a great free throw shooter. These are things that you have to practice and do over and over again. They're very basic things. When you get good at them, you're a real pro. So it's like this in the world of weight loss, and the subject matter stuff that you need to be on top of all the time and not put into the back of your mind.
Because it will fall back there. If you don't keep it in the front, fades back.
That's right. Yeah. So don't worry if some of it sounds repetitive. That's still good. I always say I've eaten a ribeye steak before, but I keep eating them. I don't say, well, I had one, I don't need to do it anymore. No, I'm like, no, they're good every time.
That's great reinforcement.
Right. Yeah.
Great reinforcement. We already have a couple entries.
That's
Thank you, Susie and Dolly, so much.
Very good.
Good morning. Make sure, Dolly, to comment hashtag Simon's AMA, just like Susie did, in order to be entered for the gift card, as well as like the
Dolly, right now you got a 50% chance of winning. It's a lot better than the North Carolina Education Lottery at this point.
So true.
Okay, well, we got the first question from Lisa in Raleigh. This is a good question. Is diabetes reversible? What's the best way to reverse it, and how long would it take? Okay.
Good news.
That's kind of a few questions rolled into one there. Is it reversible? The best way to reverse it, and how long does it take?
Okay. Yes, it's reversible.
Yes. Type 2 diabetes is reversible. I will say one diabetes, the picture there, a child born with a pancreas who does not make insulin. Okay, totally different disease process than adult onset or type 2 diabetes, so in the first case, there is no insulin. Okay, and since insulin is your body fat storage hormone, what you have is a child who can't gain any weight and is emaciated and thin. And they're eating everything in sight, but they can't get any of the glucose inside their cells. Therein lies the problem. So they need to be on insulin. The second case, adult onset diabetes, totally different disease, is a disease of excess insulin.
Yes.
Okay, hence an insulin resistance. And since insulin's the body fat storage hormone, people with type 2 diabetes, almost always, 95% of the time, are overweight and have excess body fat. They're in a constant fat storage mode. Okay, so this question I know refers to type 2 diabetes, and that's what we're talking about here. And so I think the mainstream medical community would say, no, it's not reversible. I think for a growing number of physicians and nurse practitioners and physicians' assistants who treat this problem with aggressive dietary interventions, physical activity, medication, and behavioral change, we know that you can reverse all the numbers, right? And get back into a normal range on these things and lose a bunch of weight in the process.
Yeah. And then stay in the normal range long term, forever.
Yes.
So, some people may say, well, that's more like remission. Well, it's gone, right? If your hemoglobin A1c, which is typically how we'll diagnose diabetes, is either your fasting blood sugar is elevated or something called an HbA1c or a hemoglobin A1c blood test. And what that measures is over the past 2 to 3 months, the average of what your blood sugars have been based on your red blood cells and how much sugar has basically been creme bruleed onto them, right, over time. So hemoglobin A1c is considered in a pre-diabetes range when it's 5.7 to 6.4%. If it's under 5.7, we consider that normal. However, if you're hanging out at 5.6 for years, it could be that you're on the verge and you're still having some insulin issues. If the hemoglobin A1c is 6.5 or above, that is a diagnosis of diabetes type 2, which we do call adult onset, but I do want to point out, unfortunately, there are many children who are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. It used to be very common to call it adult onset, and we still do, however, it's no longer accurate because so many children are getting it.
Correct. It's exactly, Michelle is exactly right. The adult onset is the incorrect term. It really should just be type 2 diabetes.
Right, which implies that they can make insulin, and in fact, they make too much, whereas in type 1, they cannot make any.
Yeah, the way I try to explain this to patients is there is an origin of this disease. The disease is one of carbohydrate intolerance. Okay, carbohydrate. If you have alcohol intolerance, and I keep giving you alcohol all the time, you're going to be drunk all the time. Okay,
and then sick.
Right. And if you have carbohydrate intolerance, and I constantly feed you all of these carbohydrates, and you can't process them, guess what? This is what this is.
Yeah.
Okay. See, human beings were adapted to not eating. We were adapted to eating animals, what comes from animals, and whole food that you grow and don't process.
Yes.
Okay, and those do not cause big blood sugar spikes. Right. We had a lot of physical activity also, and this is the way your cellular makeup, when you do this for thousands and thousands of years, the cells get adapted to that. You can't come along in 50 years and say, guess what? Here's the deal. That stuff is bad, and we're going to start feeding you an excess amount of refined carbohydrate. So if you look at all that, quote, kiddie food you're talking about, right? It's all just carbohydrate. And then what happens is the body says, oh, hell, I can't process all this. Slow down. What are you doing? And it's just storing fat like crazy. All right. So there is a historical aberration in these modern Western countries from the original diets of our ancestors. And this is not working. This is an experiment that is not working out well. Everywhere we try it on this planet, sort of diets, people become obese and they get diabetes. And we call this diabesity instead of obesity. It's just diabesity. It's all the same thing. You have excess insulin, excess sugar, and it's a disease of carbohydrate intolerance. So if too much carbohydrate is the origin, then the treatment is to restrict the what?
Carbohydrate.
Let's get back to eating
refined carbohydrate, particularly. Everything milled down into a white powder like flour, sugars.
Breads, crackers, cereals, noodles, oatmeals. It doesn't even matter what the grain is. You grind it up and process all that stuff. Yeah, there's a story I always tell my patients about. In the Bible, there's the story of Jesus who got in trouble for breaking the law on the Sabbath day. They're not supposed to work on the Sabbath day. Orthodox Jewish people, forbidden to work on. He's walking through a grain field, his disciples, and they're hungry. And they're snapping the heads off the grain and eating it plain off the grain. Now that is as unprocessed. That's like eating a piece of cardboard. And I assure you, the amount of work it took Jesus's gut to process that, there was no spike in the blood sugar. It's like eating it, again, it takes forever to break down a piece of cardboard if you eat it. And so anyway, that was considered work, and that's what got him in trouble. But instead of focusing on that part, I was focused on the fact, man, look at the way that human beings looked at and ate grain compared, it was genetically different than today's stuff, which has been modified, right? Yes. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, it was not processed. And if we ate it like this today, walking long distances and eating this stuff, this kind of carbohydrate would be okay. right? But this isn't the way we do it, as Michelle says. We grind it up into a fine powder. We make it into cereals and breads and
We
crackers.
put sugar and flour
Yes.
together, and then we sit down for long periods after we consume
Yes.
it. We don't walk to another village.
Exactly.
We don't walk to go get our
That's
food
right.
the next time.
Yeah.
We drive up and someone hands it to us, right?
Yeah.
So there's
That's
a
right.
real mismatch in energy intake, right? That quick burning energy like glucose and sugar and flour, it just makes our blood sugar go up so quickly because there's no fiber to slow it down. There's no protein to slow it down. There's no fat to slow it down.
That's right. That's right.
It just skyrockets up. Sugar goes up, insulin goes up. When
Yeah.
insulin goes up, we store the sugar as fat. And it doesn't have to start as sugar, just like Tom
That's right.
said.
Yeah.
It could be oatmeal, right?
Yeah.
It could be potatoes. It could be pasta. It doesn't taste sweet,
Yeah.
but your body will break it down
That's
like
right.
that to
Yeah.
glucose.
Yeah, I know.
It's that refined stuff. That's what we got to get away from.
Yeah.
Um,
This is the origin of type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, how long would it take to correct it? Well, I tell you what, when we put people on low carb diets, when we match them up with medication to help them stick to that, it doesn't take long. The fasting blood sugars correct fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It takes months for the hemoglobin A1c to correct itself. So the weight comes down at whatever rate it comes down at.
Yeah.
But those numbers will change themselves. And I've seen spectacular changes. For example, I had one fellow in particular whose hemoglobin A1c was 14 and a half, and in 6 months I got it to normalize.
Wow.
Yeah. Now he
That's amazing.
said, he'd been my patient a while, wasn't listening for a few years. He wasn't listening to what I was saying, and he was still eating a lot of junk and stuff. And but when he was in his family doctor's office and this happened, he called me and he said, okay, I'm going to do what you tell me to do now. And he buckled right on down. And I tell you what, he ate a combination of meats and vegetables for 6 months and walked every day. And guess what? This is what happened to an A1c. It came down to 5.6 from 14 and a half. And he was religious about adherence to that kind of diet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happens. It's dramatic.
Yeah. And if you
Yeah.
think about it, right, the medications that we use to treat diabetes, they can't do anywhere near
Near that.
that. That's not
Right.
even close. So
Yeah.
the therapeutic benefit of a ketogenic diet is more powerful than any medication that is on the market right now, or probably will be on the market.
Right.
Now, sometimes we will use combinations of medication and diet, but the diet is so powerful. And a ketogenic diet, Lisa, if you're really interested in reversing diabetes or helping someone who loves reverse diabetes, a ketogenic diet is the best thing to do that. And if guidance is needed, let us know. We're happy to help. So Dolly has commented, I know the food pyramid has been modified in recent years, but there are still a lot of carbs recommended. I wish they wouldn't even publish it. You are absolutely right. The food pyramid is made by our government. Our government is not interested in how healthy we are, unfortunately. And we really have to remember that. We are in an age where we don't know who to believe, and there's
Yes.
a lot of different things put out there, but you really got to think back. And Dr. said this so many times, think what our ancestors ate. They were hunter-gatherers. They
Right.
ate animals. They ate products that came from animals, and they ate plants. And the plants were in
Yeah.
a natural form that the earth gave us. They didn't spend hours milling it and changing it and genetically modifying it. They just ate it the way it was.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's
And
pretty simple.
That's right. Exactly. We spent a lot of money and did a lot of, the story on how we even got the food pyramid is absolutely crazy. And it's not one that's going to inspire trust in either the Congress or the bureaucracy of the United States government. I don't want to pick too much on the United States government. I'm a real American patriot. But the bottom line is governments are inefficient. I think the founders acknowledged this, which is why they wanted to limit it, because they realized this could happen. They realized companies, for example, could have undue influence on government bureaucrats. Bureaucrats would go to work for the companies, and the companies, people would come to work for the bureaucrats. It'd be this unholy alliance, I'm not going to name grain manufacturers, but you can imagine various, cereal makers and stuff. Yeah, you think that they want their stuff in the recommendations? Well, of course they do, right? And do you think that they go to some great length to try to make sure that it's in it? Yes. So
It's business.
right, and once you have, as long as you recognize that, like Michelle says, when you look at it from my health standpoint, that is a different perspective than they're looking at it from.
Yes.
Yeah, and in fairness to them, I'm a fair guy. Look, I understand that they are also concerned about feeding 340 million people, and I always say you can't grow 340 million cows. So, they're thinking feed these people, right? So they do have some practical considerations also, and I don't want to pick on them too much, but at the same time, I think in the end, you have to do what's right for you. And they're over there doing what they're doing. It may be right and it may be wrong in the case of government stuff, and you just have to kind of use some of your gut intuition and knowing what's right for you, right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Thank you for that question, Lisa. Fantastic. Thank you for the comment, Dolly. You're so right. So Carrie from Durham is asking, why do men, particularly her husband, get big bellies and women tend to gain weight all over? This is a really good question, because we do see this. I mean, I will say, Carrie, we do have female patients who also carry more. Some of it is genetic, but men in particular, they have a very different hormonal makeup, right? So we have estrogen and progesterone, and estrogen in particular, it's a little bit more protective against weight gain through the middle. A more estrogen weight gain would be like buttocks and thighs and hips. So part of it is our hormones, and part of it is, I think, just I think they call it a beer belly, right?
Yes.
But it's a carb belly is what it is.
Liquid bread.
Yes.
Yes. Liquid
Alcohol
bread
plays
is
a
beer.
role as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like drinking a loaf of beer in a bottle, and a loaf of bread in a bottle. And if you do that, the high insulin level is going to drive fat storage here, right? And so testosterone does make this somewhat offset when you're younger. But as you get older and your testosterone declines and you keep drinking the loaf of bread a couple times a night, it takes its toll on your belly. And I will say this, Carrie. I see we see a lot of patients in our offices, and this deposition of the omental fat that we're talking about is way more common in women than you realize. And I think if you sat behind our desks, you would realize that. So it is a problem of men and women, and it's an American problem.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the comments we made previously, because our diet is so high in refined carbohydrates that we have a whole population of people who are hyperinsulinemic, and they're in fat storage mode, and they do store too much fat here. Yes.
And genetics do play a very, very big role. Some individuals are genetically incapable of gaining weight on their limbs. So you will see these individuals just have a very, very firm, large stomach, but their arms are very thin and their legs are very thin.
Right.
And that's not necessarily because they have a high carb diet and somebody else has a low carb diet who doesn't have that. But genetics play a huge role in this disease process, and where and how we deposit fat and how much we can deposit in any scenario. And that's where we come in as obesity medicine specialists at Dr. Simon's Metabolics and Weight Loss, is because it's not just, well, eat this, not that. There are so many factors that we have to look at, and different treatment options depending on what's going on. But if your husband is interested in getting help, we can definitely help, Carrie, because many of our patients, like Doc said, men and women, struggle with that deposition around the abdomen. And one of the main things, no surprise, that we're going to say, cut the refined carbohydrate out of your diet.
That's correct. Yes. Okay. So we're behind here. Let's get moving here on the questions. Laura from Raleigh wants to know about, she's got a hard time getting into ketosis. What could be happening? Laura, there's 3 ketones. There's 3 different ones, one in the urine, one in the breath, and one in the blood. So it may just be that your ketones are in the form of one of the others that you're not measuring. Most people are doing the urine thing.
Yep.
I always say, if you do the urine thing, do it at 5 or 6 in the afternoon. Don't do it before then. In many cases, it's negative in the morning and positive in the afternoon. It does not have to be purple. It can be just slightly turning a different color, slightly between pink and purple, and that's fine. The other thing is, if you lose some weight and that's your goal, then don't worry about it.
Look at the other outcomes, right? Do you feel good? Are you losing weight? Are your cravings under control? Is your hunger under control? Are you mentally feeling good, energetically feeling good? And if that's the case, it doesn't matter matter what color that stick is that you're peeing on.
I promise, if you're down under 20 grams of gross carbs a day, there's no way that after a week you're not in ketosis. It's impossible. You're just measuring the wrong one, I guess, if you're not in.
And if you're still struggling, give us a call and track your food intake. Get an app, write everything down, log everything, find the total number of carbohydrate, just in case there's something hiding in there. And some people will have other factors, like they're not sleeping well, or they're stressed all the time, or they're consuming artificial sweeteners in amounts their body just isn't really happy about. So there's other factors, and that's what we're here to help with. But you're not alone, Laura. It can be hard.
So Betty from Raleigh's got a good question. What makes our weight loss practice different than the others I've seen? I think it's multiple. I'd like to kind of hone in on one thing and say if it was easy to be thin, hell, we'd all be thin. Okay, in America, it's not. And the recidivism rate is very high. So if you're just going to focus on your behavior and you're just going to focus on, hey, I've dreamed up this nutrition plan, I've got good behavior, and I exercise, everyone knows this. There's not a single person in America that does not know this, okay? If it was easy to do, we'd all be doing that and we'd all be thin. And this is where medicine makes a difference. You're dealing with a complex disease process, okay? And medication takes you from knowing to doing and being able to stick. And most places don't offer that help. They rely on your willpower to do that and your willpower alone. And that is a hard long-term slog, right?
Absolutely.
And so medication makes a big difference. And we know what kind of medicines to match you with and what could help you, and it will help you. If you're doing some other diet plan without medication, and then we add a prescription medication that we think is right for you, you're going to find it's easier to lose weight. The second way.
Absolutely. And you can find out a lot more about our practice on simonsmetabolics.com. But I'm going to put a plug into real quick. It's yes, we offer medication. We individualize treatment plans. Not everyone is on a program, right? We are a medical practice that will work with you to find your plan. And another thing that sets us apart is we are a completely judgment-free, open arms place for you to come and get help without shame, without blame, without you must be doing this wrong.
It is a medical problem.
Yes,
it is not a character flaw.
Absolutely.
Hence, willpower can't be the sole deciding factor on your success. Okay?
No, absolutely. So John from Durham is asking, my wife and I do keto. I'm able to lose weight easier than her. What can help speed up her weight loss? This is fairly common. We have a lot of women struggle with the fact that maybe their male counterpart is losing weight more quickly. A lot of times, John, it's expectation. She doesn't need to lose as quickly as you. She doesn't need to lose as quickly as her sister or friend.
The other thing that really is, I think that we get so simplistic that we just judge it in raw numbers. If you remember The Biggest Loser, when it was really in its prime, it was the percentage of your weight.
Right.
It's, if you have a male who's 300 pounds and a female who's 190, okay, and they both lose 10 pounds, the female is actually more successful because as a percentage of her total weight, it's a larger amount.
Yeah.
Okay, so, look at it as a percentage. In almost all cases, it comes very close to being the same. But then what you say is you're not in a race against your spouse, for example, okay? You're just working against yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, and as long as you keep it there, then you don't have to kind of get worried about the fact that someone's losing slower or faster than you.
Yeah, I know that can be really hard because we see all these infomercials and these expectations are set in social media that if we're doing it, then we should be losing a pound a day. 30 days, 30 pounds. That is not realistic for the vast majority of people. And it takes a lot of nuance. It takes a lot of individualized help where maybe if you do exactly what he does, right, it won't work the same for you. Maybe you do need a slightly different plan. I do find, people, especially men and women, respond differently to different types of diets at different times of the month, right, when we're going through different things in our life. So I think the biggest thing, John, that you could do to support her is keep encouraging her. Like, you're doing a great job. And if you need help, reach out to us. Check out the blogs on our website. Watch more of these videos, just in case there are any tips and tricks that John, your wife, could benefit from. But I'd say for the most part, just hang in there and be supportive and encouraging to each other because there's no need to lose the same amount of weight.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, I think we have a couple of entries for the gift card. It looks like we're Lucretia, pretty name. I'm so sorry if I butchered it. Lucretia?
Yes.
It's a very pretty name. Has entered as well. So we're gonna draw that in a few minutes here. The 2 things you have to do: comment hashtag Simon's AMA, like this video. We're gonna do one more question if that's okay, producer, and then wrap up with the gift card. This last question.
I can answer this one in a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Donna from Durham wants to know the difference between cool sculpting versus evolve or evoke, one faster than the other. So we have a body contouring center at our Durham location, and we have some unique machines there that do essentially non-surgical body contouring. And 2 of those machines are Evolve and Evoke. Just Evolve is for body parts, Evoke is for the face and neck. And they use bipolar radio frequency, which feels kind of like a warm stone massage. And that sort of technology is often juxtaposed and compared to cool sculpting. Cool sculpting uses a cold process to bust a pore in your fat membrane, and the subcutaneous fat. The fat leaks out over a number of months. You resorb it. It does not tighten skin. Evolve and Evoke do all of that. They do, in fact, injure the fibroblasts that are in that same area as the fat and cause a deposition of collagen, which causes the skin to tighten. So you get the fat destruction plus the skin tightening with Evolve and Evoke in a way that is essentially painless. And we set up a nice environment for those treatments so that it's really comfortable and relaxing. And we can set up a free consult. Anna, who is my wife, who's a registered nurse, does most of the treatments and really skilled at this. And she can sit down with you and at no cost discuss the area that you might be interested in treating, and then make a recommendation to you. And this will cost you nothing. And we will not hard sell you or anything like that. We have a lot of happy patients that have had this and that really like it, and we'd love the opportunity to do that. What you have to do when you're in the office is just tell us you're interested, and we'll give your contact information to Anna, who will then reach out to you, and you can reach out to her then on that. You can communicate via your cell phone and work out a time where you can come by and have that done, and then you can rest assured that, hey, your answer, hey, will this help me? What's involved, and what's it going to cost me, sort of thing, if I do it. And then there will be no hard sell. No one's going to call you back 100 times, twist your arm, try to hard sell you on something. It's all a pretty easy, relaxing process. So.
And Dolly, just so you know, right now the spa where this is set up is only available in Durham. So it shares a wall with our Durham location at South Point. So the Raleigh location does not offer this. But if you are interested, luckily South Point is
I-40 exit 276.
Yeah, from the
right
Raleigh
up
location.
the street, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't take long to get there.
Yeah. And we have a winner
Yes,
to
we do.
announce. The $25 Target gift card is Dolly's.
Dolly,
Thank you so much.
You are the winner.
Thank you, everyone who
Congratulations.
entered. We
Yes.
really appreciate it. Dolly, we will get in touch with you about getting your gift card. Make sure to share this video and join us in 2 weeks.
2 weeks it is.
Yeah, we'll be
All right.
back.
All right, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks.